The Heat That Call podcast is willing to give draft day another try. You're welcome, Costner.
Yeah, you are welcome. Kevin Costner, star of the silver screen. Dan Hanzus, Marc Sessler. Heed the call. And what does that mean, Marc? Well, guess what? Next, the week before the NFL draft, which is April 24th, but on April 17th, on our Patreon, an exclusive, a draft day live watch event. And we will once and for all decide if draft day, Marc, was full of heart from start to finish, as you once famously said.
This was a professional collapse for me on multiple levels. Like the fact that I commented on this in the equivalent of a press screening, I guess. Like, it's trailed me for my entire, if you want to call it a career. I don't know what this is, but like, yeah, let's bring it to the public and see what they think. Maybe some will agree with what I don't know. I'm not sure I agree with my own review from way back when. So
sign up, www.patreon.com/heedthecall. Yes, on Thursday, April 17th, we will live watch the entirety of Draft Day with Kevin Costner. And don't forget about cap analytics expert Jennifer Garner. And Frank Langella. I mean, how did we miss on this?
I don't think you have PFF if you don't have her role in this film. I think that's sort of where that was birthed.
I think you're right, and I think that's one of the things we'll talk about when we watched Draft Day, the movie.
No, I want my picks back, all of them.
We have two Conors joining us today. Conor Rogers of NBC, a big-time draft expert, and he's going to help educate us. But first, we welcome our old buddy, Conor Orr.
Conor Orr. Sure no. He is him.
Are you kidding me?
Town and country. More like getting down and sultry. Conor Orr. Conor Orr.
Wow.
Might be my favorite. I mean, there's been some great ones. Who was that, Justin?
That was Alex Badura.
Alex.
Badura. Thanks, Alex.
Was a town and country more like what?
Down and sultry. He
Bravo.
has me pegged. Yeah.
What's up, Con Man? You okay with the second Conor on the show this week?
Yeah, Conor Rogers just spells his first name wrong. That's okay. First name Conor is one N, and then last name Conor is two N's. So
all right, well, let's hold off on that.
I feel like you're the only Conor I know with one N, so I don't know what is that. I feel like that's more rare, but okay.
I mean, we're taking it from the homeland, so I feel like
interesting.
Yeah,
you're going
on that angle.
That's like fundamentalists.
How opponents of the tush push are like, shit, this isn't going to work. Let's say it breaks your neck. Let's see if that works. We're not going to talk about the tush push today, actually.
No.
Moratorium on tush push. Okay, just like the NFL has kicked the can, so too shall we. This is going to be more draft focused. We're going to check in on the draft every week on this show. And before we bring on Conor Rogers to educate us on some guys who we think could be immediate, or he thinks can be immediate contributors in our league, let's bring in the Gravedigger formally to get us caught up on some draft buzz.
Some draft buzz. I'm talking top of the draft buzz, these big names. It's one of those weird years where we don't have like a locked in top five. I feel like a lot of years we kind of just know what's going to happen. But as we get closer and closer, we're getting more and more reporting about what's going to happen. And here's what I've uncovered for us to discuss today.
Wait, hold up one second.
Number one.
Conor, Marc, what did you think of Justin's setup there? Was that a good... How did he set the table? Like 1 to 10, that table setting there.
Well, he's a total professional. I'd give it a solid 8.7.
Conor?
Just because I know that Justin can always even reach further if he needed to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Conor,
100%. Yeah, I think that's a 10, but that's just Justin. I mean, Justin's floor is a 10 for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go B-. All right, Justin.
Fair. Always room for improvement. All right. According to Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports Nashville,
that's not.
Not only did the entire Titans.
Wait, no, I'm sorry.
Is that like the guy before he becomes a superhero? Like the.
That's the name
Mr.
of a
Freeze.
Little League baseball bat. Sorry.
He's a guy.
He
falls into, or he gets caught by some bad guys during a robbery and gets thrown in a meat locker and dies. But then some industrial goo falls on him that's on one of the shelving and makes him like a superhero in the Freeze capacity.
Yeah. Origin story.
Whatever happened to Easton Freeze? And meanwhile, he's saving the city. Like one of those things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Easton is a great reporter for the Titans, a good buddy of mine who does great work. And I'm going to share his reporting that not only did the Titans send a massive contingent to Cam Ward's pro day and his private workout a few days later in Miami, they also sent owner Amy Adams Strunk, which doesn't feel like something you would go do unless you're trying to select that player first overall. So I think the buzz, if we're talking buzz, is that Cam Ward will be the first pick by the Titans. The sports betting odds are very much leaning that direction, heavily favored. So I think that's where we can start our top of the draft discussion.
Braver just trying to manifest this, Mark.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't disagree that it's vaguely notable, but like, what, a multi-millionaire gets on like a private plane and flies like 45 minutes to this is leading the news.
Top pick.
Wait, is this an episode of Remember the Titans?
Shit.
Wait, like, I'm vaguely impressed that Amy Adams Strunk lifts a finger to do anything. Like, it's one of the least visible owners out there. So
we're talking Strunko?
Yeah, well, maybe I'm annoyed because I had a large Strunk diatribe at our previous employer that was just axed out of our podcast once, where I didn't appear for 45 minutes because my part of the segment was deemed by management to be, I don't know, irascible or something.
Yeah, let's. Yeah, I'd rather not talk about what happened in that meeting. You were on vacation. All right. What else is going on? I think everything is pointing that way. I'm going to be curious, Conor. I'm going to throw
Justin's
you a second.
annoyed, by the way.
I'm curious what Conor Rogers thinks about Ward as a prospect. We'll ask him before we get into our larger topic. What are your thoughts, Orman?
I'm curious though, because they're making a show of what they're doing publicly, but what are they doing privately? Because famously, like when the Eagles drafted Carson Wentz, they were at North Dakota State interviewing maitre d's and waiters at restaurants that he used to go to and asking like, how much does this guy tip? Is he polite? Does he hold doors for people? Like, what does the back end of this look like? Because that is what really kind of gets my gears going on something like this.
How many teammates were at his birthday party? Exactly.
Yes, it matters.
Correct.
And what does nice callback? And what does a large contingent mean for a franchise like the Tennessee Titans? Like 4 dudes? Like how deep we rolling?
No, like president of football ops, general manager, assistant general manager, 3 assistant general managers, head coach, quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator. Like more people than I've ever heard of.
Let's go the other way. Do you need 3 assistant general managers?
Too many cooks.
But the Titans do.
All right, what else is going on in the latest NFL draft buzz?
All right, so on Friday, Colorado's Pro Day will take place. Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, 2 big names in this draft, will be working out. The question is, where are they going to go? Because there's been a lot of talk about Shedeur Sanders to the Browns or Shedeur Sanders to the Giants, but the latest buzz indicates that maybe Shedeur Sanders will be slipping past potentially the 3rd pick. And where then does Travis Hunter go? Because a lot of people say, well, if the Browns aren't going to take Sanders, it's Abdul Carter. Travis Hunter makes a lot of sense there too.
There are a lot of Browns reporters tied to the Browns who came out of the owners' meetings talking pretty definitively that Travis Hunter has risen up the board for them at number 2. So I think he's in play, depending on what they think about Abdul Carter. I think Travis Hunter is in play for Cleveland at number 2.
I think it's certainly something that their front office would be interested in. I mean, they're a little bit more analytically minded and experimental. And what I think no one's talking about with Travis Hunter right now, and I think may attract the Browns and should attract everybody, is it allows you to completely change the way that you stack your roster for a game day. Because if you have a guy that can play 2 positions, you can add another tight end or you can add a fullback when you wouldn't have before because you're concerned about special teams or cornerback depth or whatever it is. And Travis Hunter allows you to maybe add even a whole different personnel package. So I think once we start talking about that kind of stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if he pushes even further up the board.
All right, what else, Justin?
And finally, Buzzy Buzz, Abdul Carter, who's dealing with a shoulder injury and a foot injury, didn't work out at Penn State's pro day last week, despite his agent saying at the combine that he would be ready to work out for that pro day. Some buzz coming out of the owners' meetings is that a few teams have major medical red flags on Carter and might consider removing him from their boards.
Well, that's interesting.
How does that affect his fall?
Yeah, I mean, it might not fall at all. This might be all bullshit, and that happens also this time of year. But a lot of mock drafts have connected Abdul Carter to the Cleveland Browns at 2. But I guess it depends what kind of injuries we're talking about, and if they are chronic injuries or if it's one of those things where it was just like, because this happens too. So maybe their plan was we're going to work out at the pro day, and then he wasn't quite 100%. And you're not going to go as a less version of yourself when you're doing your final draft showcase, in which case you go, you know what, I stand on my game tape, go watch that. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's seriously injured. He's just not totally healthy. So I don't know, Conor, I feel like there's a lot of gray area, and making assumptions based on things like this could be dangerous business.
I'm 85% sure that the teams who just said that they were going to take Abdul Carter off their draft board are the ones that are hoping that he slips to 8 or 9 so that they can take him later on. So, yeah, I don't buy this one.
All right. So there's some draft buzz. And while we're here, Justin, you want to just spin us through a few NFL news items that are out there?
Sure. So we didn't talk about this yesterday, but it happened in Florida. Jerry Jones very publicly stating that he is negotiating directly with Micah Parsons and said he doesn't even know the name of Micah Parsons' agent. And Micah Parsons also responded to Jerry Jones in the form of a tweet.
Oh my God, this story. Yeah, okay, this story drives me crazy because we know what's going to happen here, right? Micah Parsons will sign a giant fat deal with the Dallas Cowboys, and the news machine needs some gruel to keep the story going until that happens. And as a result, we need to find something to talk about. And here is Jerry Jones, like in terms of like how this is being presented, cornering Micah Parsons at like a Ruth's Steakhouse or something and saying, we'll get this deal together, done, just you and me. Keep out that middleman. And now we're talking about, will anyone think of the agent? Oh, will anyone think of David Mulgeta? Like, he needs our sympathy and support in this matter. David Mulgeta, he'll be prominently involved with this. Parsons will get as much, if not more money than Myles Garrett. He'll stay with the Cowboys. Somebody else could get their panties in a bunch. It ain't me.
This is the kind of story that, like, our show is has the license to completely ignore if we wish. To your point, like, it's all going to get done. Like, I don't even believe that Jerry Jones has not heard of this person. I don't know why he needs to issue these comments. It's tedium. The agent's going to get his part of this. That's how this always works. You're right. He's going to be the highest paid player in the league. And we just kind of wait for it to happen. Non-quarterback, but like wait for it to happen.
I just never, I always wonder if he realizes, and maybe that's part of it. I did this big deep dive on Dallas and contracts a couple of years ago. And one of the things that kept coming up was the idea that Jerry Jones actually likes being able to say that I paid more for this person than anyone. Like, I like even back to Troy Aikman, I have the highest paid quarterback ever. It's like a carnival barking thing for him. But at the same time, like, all of this little tedium is costing him money. It just is. He could have had Dak Prescott for probably $7 or $8 million a year less than what he got Dak Prescott for if he had just done the deal traditionally and early. Same thing with Micah Parsons. He's probably going to end up overpaying by $10 million. But does it not matter to him because he gets to go out and say, like, look at this cool thing that I got here, whatever. I don't know.
What else we have?
Look at my player.
I mean, people just like, listen, I am not above. In fact, I love with Jerry Jones and having fun with him because he's just a character. But this one feels like a little bit overblown. It's just like, this is all part of the dance. But he did get a deal done like this with Ezekiel Elliott, by the way, where he kind of cornered him in the Ruths.
But to Conor's point, it's always like a year late.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Also, to all reporters, like, you don't all need to be nice to David Mulugheta. He's only going to call,
yesterday was a waterfall of nonsense on that front. Like,
he can only text so many insiders, and like, you're probably on the 9th text, and at that point, does it really matter?
Yeah.
I don't
Will
know.
anybody think of Mulugheta? It's time for Mulugheta to get the attention he needs. He's like has like representation with like 47 of the 50 best players in the league. He's got like 7 houses. Well, anyone think of the age?
He's like roving around town like in a cream-colored Porsche. Like, I mean,
yeah. Like, you want me to cry tears for the guy in the Lamborghini, like driving to his Miami beach house? Let's calm down. What else?
All right, MassLive.com, this one's for Marc, is reporting that the Patriots have received multiple trade inquiries for quarterback Joe Milton.
Oh, I told you.
Speaking of top 50 players.
I told you like months ago this would happen. So,
if the Patriots were smart, well, if they were really smart, if this guy was so good, you make him your number 2 quarterback. He's cheap and under contract. But if you want to move him, this is the time, because he's coming off the cameo, and teams have talked themselves into him as the secret gem of the quarterback culture. So do it now, and maybe you get a mid-round pick. Do you disagree, Conor?
Like, all they've done is sign another quarterback and then continuously leak like, bunch of people want to trade for this guy. It's like, probably not. If you keep having to say it. I feel like
Sessler might be like a little Operation Pink Pony on the Patriots payroll. He's one of the guys pushing this agenda.
Ooh. No, I think that it's the kind of cameo, is what you called it, that will attract certain people. Do you think the Patriots
like
front
Marc
office is New England's front office organized enough to initiate a campaign like this, like an underwater campaign or a backwater campaign? I don't think so.
I don't know what's going on in New England anymore. It's hard to say what's going on at any given time. One more thing, and then we got to get to our great guest, Conor Rogers.
Finally, Woody Johnson called the NFLPA report card grade that he got of an, I think, F- totally bogus.
Earlier this week, I was giving him credit for perhaps being even moderately humbled by the waterfall of criticism when everyone finally realized that he is the problem for the New York Jets and has been for many, many years. And then he goes and he does this. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but Woody, who obviously has ties to Donald Trump, he was in his cabinet or whatever as a UK ambassador in the prior administration. His texts, and he's even done a text about us once that was in this cadence. His writing cadence is Trumpian, and I was thinking, Marc, perhaps you do a pretty good Trump. I would love to hear you embodying Donald. Sometimes you slip into just the natural Trumpian cadence.
Do I?
If you would do us the favor of giving us a little Woody Johnson through the filter of the president.
They're very wrong. They're very wrong about me. You cannot get it. There is no such thing as an F-. And let's be honest, I'm much closer to a passing grade. That's what we're going to be doing. I love chimneys. A lot of smoke coming out of chimneys. We love it very much.
Give me my first thought was it's totally bogus.
That's what he says first?
Yeah, my first thought is that it was totally bogus.
My first thought, it's totally bogus. It's going to be, we're going to talk about very bogus information here. I don't know who these people are. They're terrible people.
Beautifully done. All right. Very good. That man needs help. And maybe so too do you, Marc Sessler.
Yeah, well, this, appropriately, this episode of He Had the Call with Dan Hanzus and Marc Sessler and Conor and Justin is brought to you by BetterHelp. Think about your favorite leaders, mentors, and idols. Maybe you're thinking of us. That's possibly not true. It's possible that you've found someone higher than us as a mentor or idol. But if not, that's where you're stuck. Anyway, we don't have all the answers here at the show, but we do know when to ask questions or seek support from our community. It's easy to forget that we're all better when we have a support system behind us. Therapy can be a source of support for any area of your life. Honestly, it's time to shift the focus from doing it all to knowing that we're better when we ask for help. I personally have been in therapy. I've mentioned this before. In fact, it was only 2 weeks ago after a session when 24 hours later, I got a text from my therapist saying, a little concerned, just a little bit concerned about where you are. So let's just checking in. Anyway, so that, you want
like the Midwest or your mental state?
Well, I think that across the board. Okay. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give
Never
better
a message you want from your therapist, but okay, go ahead.
Well, he's caring, so I think that's true of
good.
the BetterHelp individuals as well. You want to give them a try, okay? Entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Serving over 5 million people worldwide. That's a lot. Access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties, and you can easily switch therapists at any time with no extra cost. Conor's like, don't like that guy? You get the next guy. Or a woman. It could be a woman. To get started, simply fill out a short questionnaire, and you'll be matched with a licensed therapist. Plus, you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/HTC today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/HTC.
It's a 3rd and 16 for the Chiefs, and a shotgun snap from their own 24. Rolling out of the pocket, Mahomes lines up. It's intercepted at the 40, and picked off by DeJean, who comes to the near side, the 30. Got it back at the 20, breaks a tackle, the 10, the 5, to the pylon. Touchdown! Eagles have got a pick six. It's Cooper DeJean.
The great velvet tones of Kevin Harlan on the call. Super Bowl 59, Cooper DeJean, who put that game away with a pick six in the first half, and brought up Cooper DeJean here as we welcome in our guest today, because that was a man that was taken in the draft, not a top 10 pick or anything like that, but immediately became a contributor, a star even for the Super Bowl champions. Who could be the next DeJean? And now we welcome in a man who you should know if you don't already know, because he is a fast rising star in the industry from NBC Sports. I also know this man from the Badlands New York Jets podcast that he does with my paisan, Joe Caporoso. Here is the great Conor Rogers. Welcome to Heed the Call, buddy.
What's up, fellas? Happy to be here. Thank you for the lovely intro. What's going on?
Conor, so happy to have you here, buddy. And for once, for us not to be talking about whether the Jets will find a way to go 9-8.
Not gonna lie. Yeah. It's a nice change of pace.
Yeah. But yes, check out the Badlands podcast. That is tremendous. And everything else Conor does. Conor, so let's get into it. First of all, before we get into the main topic here, I am curious what your thoughts are. Justin Graver, our producer, is a big Titans fan. Where you stand on the Cam Ward side of things as we approach April 24th.
I mean, he's absolutely worthy of being the number one pick. I think that's where the conversation starts, right? Is everybody wants to know, is he just going first because he's the best quarterback in a weaker class? I think this class lacks depth of high-end starting talent. I would argue more likely than not after Cam, that's where it ends. I mean, there are guys that will start games, but guys that can actually carry your offense and win you games beyond him, it's going to be a development process at best. So I'm excited for Cam Ward at the NFL level. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's my number one overall player, but he's a top 10 player for me at the most important position in the sport. He's somebody that's gotten better over 5 years of college football at 3 different programs. Love his personality. I think he's somebody that people will absolutely follow the second he gets into an organization, and he'll give you all the work ethic in the world and all the talent in the world. So I think that it's kind of been lost in the shuffle, but I've felt that way about Cam since about October.
Where would you have slotted him in last year's top-heavy quarterback draft? An obvious question, but just that's sort of
it's a perfect way to put it. Yeah, it's the perfect way to put it. I would have had him ahead of both McCarthy and Nix. And obviously, Bo had an awesome rookie season. I think that he went to a situation that was phenomenal for him, and he capitalized on it to the fullest, where he even outperformed my expectations. But, I mean, last year was a special group where I looked at Caleb, Drake May. I really liked Michael Penix for a long time, and that kind of course-corrected itself where he went top 10 like he always should have. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is a superstar already and was a hell of a prospect, but, I mean, fifth in that group is still, in my eyes, a guy that goes and, if those guys didn't go in the first 12 picks, the Raiders probably would have taken a quarterback as well. So Cam Ward is still a top 15 pick in last year's draft. It's just the fact, once again, that after him, We don't have a lot of guys that look like they have high-end starter potential, and that's where people get disappointed because it feels like for a long time he's been the number one pick, whether that was going to be the Titans. And we're all sitting here wondering, like, okay, the Titans don't have a quarterback. Why are they openly talking about trading this to the Giants or whoever else? And obviously coaches get into the tape and opinions change really quickly, and everybody's looking around going, why wouldn't we take this guy? So it's just good to see that catch up on Cam, who has done a lot of great things like Bo Nix and Michael Penix did across 5 years of college football. I think a lot of teams love seeing that with a quarterback prospect.
Yeah, and I was listening to, you did a great conversation with Kevin Clark, a friend of ours, and how the portal system has obviously changed and revolutionized college, for good or bad, depending on who you want to talk to on that. But in terms of evaluating prospects that are moving through different schools, different levels of play, different offenses, on the NFL level, you're getting a better look at these guys compared to the old model, right?
That's exactly right. I think it's the good of it is it's allowing quarterbacks to develop in college in a world where, man, it just felt like they were cast aside quickly and then they get thrown into the NFL. And if you were lucky, you got a year or two, and then you're thrown into the fire. And if it doesn't work out quickly, you're done pretty much. And we've seen late bloomers, obviously, because of that across the NFL. But I think in this era, guys can now get some money where they don't feel like they're losing all of that security while continuing to develop. I mean, the perfect example, and maybe it's not perfect because obviously his family background gives him a different sense of security. I don't think Arch Manning is going to be in next year's draft. I've been telling everybody that. Unless maybe he goes out and has this elite year, but all these fan bases that are sitting there and going, well, next year Arch is in the draft. Well, number one, we've barely seen Arch play, and I think he will be a really good college quarterback. But I think Arch Manning is a guy that can now sit there and be like, I could develop at the college level across multiple years, make a ton of money, and then go to the NFL when I'm ready to do that. I don't think he'll be the only guy following that pathway. So I think it's changed things for the better with quarterbacks. There's a lot of bad it's done across college football in terms of other positions and roster movement at a pace that is hard to keep up with for staffs and players themselves. But for quarterbacks alone, I'm shocked Quinn Ewers is in this draft. I thought he's a guy that really, really could have benefited off of that system by going back for a year. So, yeah, it's done a lot of good. Kyle McCord is in this draft, and it really, really helped him going from Ohio State to Syracuse.
And don't forget that Arch's uncle, Peyton, and Jets fans like Conor and I know this very well, had a chance to come out of Tennessee in the 90s and said, I don't want to get drafted by the Jets, who had went 1-15. The year before, and he stayed an extra year and ended up with the Colts. So anyway, yes, let's get into it now. So we call it the Cooper DeJean All Stars. It doesn't mean we're looking for just a bunch of white cornerbacks, because that doesn't happen a lot. But we're looking for guys that can come in, hit the ground running. I assume the assumption for most top 10 guys or whatever at the top of the first round, you can make the case. But for this exercise, Conor, we asked you as somebody that's a real tape dog, some other guys in this draft that you think people might be maybe sleeping on a little bit that can come in and be difference makers year one. Where do we want to start?
Right. So the number one thing when you write these names down is they have to be good at something today at the NFL level. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I need to know what I'm getting in a defined role right away. And that's why we kind of avoided top 10 players as much as we could, because those guys should be good at something at the NFL level right away. That's why they're top 10 picks, even in a weaker draft. We'll start with Tyleik Williams from Ohio State, who I think deserves to be a first rounder. I am not convinced he's going to go in the first round. I would lean more top 50 for Tyleik Williams because, quite simply, he is a 334-pound run-stuffing brick wall of a human being that you drop in the middle of your defensive line, and now teams have to completely rethink how they attack you with the run game. And in today's NFL, that matters a lot. And I'm a little surprised how little buzz and hype there is around somebody with that skill set for the first round. I think people love him as a second-round pick, and I get it. You look at the pass rush situation, only a 7.8% win rate this year. He's not a pass rush artist. The effort and power is there, not a lot of moves, not a lot of creativity. But you just turn on the tape, like you look at the second time they played Oregon, the playoff game where they just smashed them and embarrassed them. Oregon kind of sat there and looked at it and goes, we're going to have to run somewhere else. And when you could flow the run somewhere predictable in a defense because of what one human being is doing on your defensive line, that's a defensive coordinator's dream. It could set everybody else up for success, whether it's how you align your linebackers, your safeties, how you want to play your front. So Tyleik Williams, I might be sitting there and going, listen, I'm never going to get 6 to 8 sacks out of him, but I know he's going to, in my opinion, he's going to be one of the best run-stopping defensive tackles within the first 3 years of his career. And I think he'll be an above-average one as a rookie. So that's why I love the player, because I look at all these teams that really, really struggle to stop the run. And there's a lot of good teams. Like the Bills at 30 should be thinking about this guy. That should be right up their wheelhouse, especially, I don't think Ogunjobi's a good run stuffer, but he's still missing 6 games. They need a beefy interior player. So Tyleik Williams, he's a damn good prospect, and you know exactly what he's going to do for you as a shade nose or a 3-tech from day one.
Isn't that more valuable in some way, shape, or form, though? I mean, Sometimes when we get something like pass rush win rate in our heads and we think about a lack of moves, I mean, moves can always be developed. Aaron Donald developed his moves through the help of like a private pass rushing coach after he left college. But I feel like some of the interior guys, especially, the lack of wanting to do that or needing to do that, and just the ability to follow a very specific instruction and be in a certain gap and destroy it, is so much more valuable for some of your bigger interior guys.
Absolutely, and it's a numbers game. If I have one, like, this is the simplest math of football. If I have one human that occupies 2 humans, well, then as a coach, life is looking a lot easier for me with how I'm playing my gaps and my fronts. And so, yeah, I completely agree. And it's not that he doesn't have traits. A lot of people look at run stuffers and they're like, okay, can I get a fat body 2-gapping presence that just sits there and doesn't get moved? He has strong hands. He's powerful. For 330 plus pounds, like a stout body with muscle and somebody that gets off blocks. So like you said, why can't a coach teach him how to rush a little bit in a sense that, okay, let's convert some of that power to pocket pushing power and kind of force the quarterback to roll a different direction, where my NFL edge rusher should be winning the outside corner and kind of feeding him into the teeth of them. So, yeah, if you're elite at something, and I think he's elite run defender in this draft, you should be considered in the top 32 picks.
Could be curtains for the tush push if the right team
a tush push eraser
calls his number.
Yeah, the NFL's looking for these guys, and this would be one of those types of guys.
People are going so crazy about tush push, he'll go number 1 overall.
Yeah,
once that leaks out and gets aggregated.
We've course corrected too much.
Yeah, Conor, who else we got?
Let's flip to the offense for one here and go Tre Harris, the wide receiver from Ole Miss. And, you know, listen, this wide receiver class, it's not going to be like last year, not even close. It's a lot of number 3s that can become number 2s. I really think, depending on how you think Travis Hunter is going to play, I guess we'll count him as a potential wide receiver here. To me, him and Tet McMillan go in the first round. I don't know if any other guys do. So then you get this giant pit of day 2 wide receivers, and you're just looking for guys that have a calling card. And with Tre Harris, who I don't think will be one of the first 5, 6, 7 wide receivers taken, his calling card is just ball skills. He just finds the football over DBs, around DBs, no matter what it is. The speed's adequate. He's going to run, not always run by NFL defenders, but give you enough that he stresses the defense. You know, we kind of had this funny conversation on the draft podcast I do, NFL Stock Exchange, where sometimes we look back at wide receiver and quarterback combos in college, and we're like, you know, did we get it wrong of who made who? And I'm not saying Jackson Dart's going to be a bust, but would it shock me if in 3 years, you know, Tre Harris out of Ole Miss is a really good number 2 wide receiver, and we look back and go, man, Tre Harris bailed out Jackson Dart on a lot of not so great throws in college, and you look at who ends up being the better NFL player, it wouldn't shock me if Tre Harris is just the better NFL player. So, I really, really like the mental makeup. I sat down with him at the combine, you know, really humble roots. Dad worked in the oil fields. Like, this guy's, his work ethic is a little different than a wide receiver. A lot of these guys, they get recruited, they ball out on NIL, and good for them. This is somebody that started out at Louisiana Tech, had to really carve out a role in that offense, transfers up to Ole Miss, has to carve out a role in that offense, dominates at Ole Miss. I think the work ethic and the mentality is a little different than what we think of with a wide receiver, that I'm pretty confident he's going to make it.
He's got good size too. Like he's 6'2", 200 plus.
Yeah.
I saw that he against like man coverage, he averaged over 20 yards per target against man coverage, and like he had 1,000 yards in 8 games. So I saw a comp to Michael Thomas. Does that work for you, or is that on base?
Yeah, I don't think that's far off at all. You look at just the body positioning with both of them, where you're not sitting there and going, hey, you got to run by everybody. Like, just create yourself a small window and go find a way to win the football. I mean, when you're 45 and 93 on contested catches in college, you're legitimately, the 50-50 kind of guy. And you watch some of those opportunities. I mean, he had a touchdown catch where he had to go around the back of a defender's helmet for a throw that Dart left really short in the end zone. So this is somebody that just zero fear of the dirty areas, violent after the catch, a touchdown machine, and just unique body positioning to say, like, that's my football. Him and Travis Hunter are the guys in that class that they just seemingly find a way to steal the football, and on throws they shouldn't.
Yeah, I was when I was reading the description, I was also thinking he's a little bigger, Mike Williams. But is this guy? I like you have a similar feeling on realistic comps, right? The idea that like everyone comps everybody to be potential Hall of Fame players. Is Michael Thomas a potential ceiling for this guy? Is that do you see him as potentially a star?
Yeah, I like the ceiling comps a lot because it kind of sets expectations the right way. I like to call them sometimes spectrum comps where it's like you have a low end and a high end outcome depending on where they go and how things work out. But the production that he's had and knowing that he has a calling card, yeah, it just wouldn't shock me at all if he ends up being that kind of productive player in an offense that can utilize that true X-style wide receiver. So, yeah, it's so funny. Like, I've compared Tet McMillan, who I think is the top receiver in this draft if you don't count Travis Hunter as a wide receiver. I've compared him to Cortland Sutton a lot, and it's almost like I see faces drop in agony when I say that. And I'm just like, man, Cortland Sutton was like a really good wide receiver prospect out of SMU. He's a nice NFL player that's had some bad injury luck. It's, when you set the expectations so high, I think also you could tell I've just been doing this now long enough where the miss rate is so insane. You just get fatigue of expecting everybody to be compared to an all-pro because the numbers will tell you that'll just never happen.
I wonder if the Patriots are a team to watch with this player. Who else you got?
Let's go Mike Green. This is the highest ranked player I have on this list, the edge from Marshall. He'll go in the top 20 picks, I'm pretty sure. I could see like the Falcons are all over him. That would make a lot of sense. You look at the edge rush production from Mike Green, and it's in a pretty unique territory. The reps that I like to filter and watch are the true pass rushes where the tackle's actually taking a real pass set. Like in college football, you got to filter through 9,000 screens, jet sweeps, whatever it may be, quick throws. The true pass rush is, okay, is the tackle taking a real pass set? The edge rusher can get off the ball and actually make a move or counter. He was in the 95th percentile in terms of the success rate against those true pass rushes. So when Mike Green is going up, and it's you go, okay, well, what's the level of competition now that he's at Marshall? Well, he looked really good against Ohio State. He had a spin move win in that game that was out of this world. All right, well, what else did he do? He went to the Senior Bowl, and he was so dominant through 2 days of practices against top-level competition, including Josh Connerly, the tackle from Oregon, who's probably going to be a first-round pick, that he packed his bags in 2 days and went home. And usually when guys do that, the agents get a couple calls from NFL scouts and they say, like, don't have your guy out here anymore. There's no reason. A lot of people mix that up.
It's the mic drop of NFL prospect moves.
It is.
Right?
That's how I do this podcast.
Yeah. When you've had a good hour, you're like, okay, like I can call it a week now. That tells you what the NFL thought of what he did there, and just it's a traits-based position. I mean, you could have 15 sacks in college, but you got to have traits to succeed at the next level. He's explosive off the ball. Excellent agility testing at his pro day, which really matches the flexibility on tape. You see the violent hands, big-time high school wrestler, really successful high school wrestler, and you see the violent hands against the run, too. Like, he's going to play at 250 pounds, which a lot of defenses like their edge players to be a little bigger than that, but when you throw your hands and gain leverage and can have knockback power and take on pullers, like, it really doesn't matter as long as you're playing above your weight. So I think Mike Green is, in my opinion, going to be a top 8 player to come out of this draft, although ultimately he'll probably be more of a top 20-ish kind of pick.
That we talked about it last week. The Detroit Lions, maybe get aggressive, move up the board, grab him.
That would be really nuts for a team like them. You look at, I think it could start at the Panthers at 8, and then you go kind of down the board, the Niners at 11. Like I said, the Falcons, I feel like they're the most likely for him. But yeah, just pure pass rush, like artist. I mean, I think it's closer between him and Abdul Carter than anybody will talk about. The gap to the next guy is the bigger gap. Carter is an amazing player, and it's just that Green is Like when you watch the tape and look at the numbers and go through everything, there's not this giant gap between them two. Like it feels like the third edge rusher in this class.
It's going to be super annoying when he drops to 32 and Howie Roseman takes him.
Never fit. Howie is getting a top 20 player at 32. We are mentally equipped for that.
Justin, clip that when it actually happens. All right, let's stop down real quick here because as we're talking draft, it's a reminder that on Underdog, you can already lock in your season-long NFL higher-lowers for 2025 before the draft changes the outlook for these teams. One that sticks out to me, Malik Neighbors, perfect example. He had over 1,200 yards receiving last year. His season-long receiving yards higher-lower is set at 1,174.5 yards. I don't care if it's Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, the DeVito boy, what do they call him? Tommy Cutlets, Shador Sanders. Neighbors is going to go higher on that one because he is that special. You could add this line to a pick'em entry today on Underdog. Just scan the QR code on your screen to get started or sign up with code HTC. And new users can receive up to $1,000 in bonus credits when they deposit for our U.S. audience only. All right, back to Connor Rogers. All right, two more. Give it. You're on a roll, Connor Rogers. You're killing it.
All right, let's go Grey Zabel. You got to have a North Dakota State offensive lineman. If this is this is the trust list, right? Like these are players I'm trusting to be good as rookies, so I don't look like an idiot. And Grey Zabel, I mean, what more do you want? Over 1,000 snaps at left tackle, over 1,000 snaps at right tackle. He's played interior spots, even played center and guard at the Senior Bowl. I thought he was the best player on the field at Senior Bowl practices, and I don't know if it was particularly close. Another guy I sat down with at the Combine, it felt like you were talking to a 10-year NFL veteran, not a guy going into the NFL. I think that he is just so smart, athletic, strong, technically polished. When you've played that much football at a really good program, that constantly churns out NFL offensive linemen, and a guy that could really play all five spots. I mean, Seattle in the top 20, take him. And then whatever you do on day two, maybe he's your center or maybe he's your guard. Maybe you draft that center on day two and then he plays guard. Maybe you go the other way around. I think this guy's an absolute stud and one of the safest players in the draft. And it feels like when the Bucs took Graham Barton last year, it was like, well, I know he's going to be really, really good no matter what happens. And why did he fall that far? And Zabel, it's corrected a little bit. I'm glad he's not really mentioned in the second round anymore. It just feels like he's a solidified first rounder because of everything he's done the last 4 or 5 years and then throughout this process.
I like guys that like at age 9 are whipping like bales of hay around their yard. Like that's a solid prospect. But like when you dominate at the Senior Bowl, because that's what I read about him too, and you mentioned that, like what does that do for you? Obviously, it changes your whole draft stock. But to go in there and like these are all like first, second, third round guys, like to go dominate the way he did, it just kind of, what does it say to coaches?
Well, it says that, number one, you could kind of sink your hips and take on Power 4 power, right? Like that's because you're an FCS guy and they play good teams, but it kind of shows that, okay, level of competition is just not an issue here. It's the fact that I always say it like this, right? When you're at the Senior Bowl, if you're a guy asked to work backwards, you are put in an incredibly disadvantageous spot from the get-go. There's corners and one-on-ones, there's offensive linemen and one-on-ones or whatever, 2-on-2s, whatever they want to end up doing. You're already in a spot that doesn't really necessarily replicate a real football play all the time. The fact that you could survive or even look really good doing that is such a impressive feat. And I feel like Zabel being able to do that in that atmosphere against really stout, strong SEC, Big Ten kind of defensive linemen just goes to show you that he's going to thrive in those one-on-one situations. And he's already got the mental capacity to handle any position on the offensive lineman when you're talking about awareness, handling stunts. But yeah, you get to see it up close, like where a guy's hand placement are, his demeanor in between practice, working with different players in an environment that is extremely, extremely uncomfortable. So it can be overrated at times, but I think of the last guy that was the ultimate Senior Bowl winner that was asked to work backwards was Quinshon Mitchell. And I think Quinshon Mitchell has shown he's going to be a damn good NFL player for a long time.
And this is just a coincidence, Connor Rogers, but Grey Zabel was also the female protagonist in one of Marc Sessler's self-published erotic novels.
That's true.
The name Grey really lands at you guys?
Something about it. All right, one more from Connor Rogers, and check out Connor. where he does all his work with NBC. He's the co-host of the NFL Stock Exchange for Pro Football Focus, which we love. He's a Mets fan, which we don't hold against him, and most importantly, a Jets fan. And he's on the Badlands podcast. Conor, give us one more.
All right, guys, we'll finish with a household name, but I think he's the solidified RB3 in this class, and it feels like it's up for debate. It's Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State, who, things kind of cooled on him this year until the Natty, where it was funny to me. It was, you look at what he did at Ole Miss the first 2 years. He was the first SEC player since Herschel Walker to have 15 or more rushing touchdowns in those first 2 seasons. So
it's good company.
Joined pretty good company those first 2 years. And, both of those seasons, he forced 76 and 78 missed tackles. And this is when he's, 18, 19 years old. Then he transfers to Ohio State, shares a backfield with Travion Henderson, which there's nothing wrong with that. They won a national title doing it. And everybody's like, oh, the production doesn't look the same. Well, yeah, he's sharing touches. But when you just watch the tape, he's the same exact guy. Downhill, hard charging, violent runner, these oak tree kind of legs, explosive, really good burst. He's somebody to me that, he doesn't fumble. Feels like he never puts the ball on the ground. I just look at him joining an NFL backfield. Like, say the Bears take him at 41. Give the guy the 275 touches that he needs and don't think twice about it. Like, he's instantly your best running back. You could ask anything of him. He's played a lot in the pass game as well. He's been very open at the combine about, like, I can play in the slot. I can play out wide. And there's a lot of examples on tape of him doing that. So he's a complete player. He just gives you star vibes, whatever room he's in, because he's that kind of confident personality, and he's got the build of a perfect build for an NFL running back with that power and strength. I think he's just going to be tailor-made for, like I said, 250, 275 touches out of the gate for whatever team lands him. And I hope it's a Cowboys, Bears, like an open backfield that it's just his, and teams don't get cute and go, oh, week 9, let's give our best running back the ball now. That drives me nuts with rookies. These guys are ready to go with the pros.
Do you imagine that position is going to be somewhat overdrafted just because we're a copycat league and we see teams like the Lions or teams like the Eagles having a lot of success with the run game? And even if you don't have the infrastructure, you as a general manager of another team want to make it look like you're trying to reach for something that other successful teams are doing. Do you think that some of these guys that are maybe second round picks are going to find their way into the back end of the first?
I think Amarian Hampton could be one of those guys from UNC, just because he's another one that he's really, really talented. He's big, he's strong, he's explosive, he's violent and pass pro. I'm kind of curious, though, the stare down of it, because on one side, everybody's looking for a star running back that could be the identity of their offense, and that's why Ashton Jeanty is going to be a top, we'll say 15 pick. On the other side of it, besides the defensive line, it's probably the strongest group in the draft. I mean, I have running backs in the RB 14, 15, 16 range like that I think are starters. So do I need to take one in the top 40 when I believe in my evaluation that I can get a guy that's not the same, but good enough in the 3rd or 4th round or 5th round? That's kind of the Kyle Shanahan of it all, right? It's funny watching him trade Jordan Mason, and, he's going to dive into this class and see what he can find in the 3rd round, and guarantee he'll probably be somebody really good. So that's kind of the weird balance of it. I think Jeanty is special, where I don't care if he goes in the 1st round. I think any argument against that is flawed. I think that Hampton and Judkins are really, really good. And then there's this giant wide range of guys that could go from pick 40 to 120 in a near similar platform.
How about a piece of paper, Conor? We'll close with this. New York Jets, Tyler Warren, no matter what.
Who's going to play right tackle?
Yeah.
It's not fun. It's not fun. It's the Brock Bowers thing all over again. Like, it's amazing how we just do this all the time. Last year it would have been awesome to take Brock Bowers, but they had no tackle. So you had to take Olu Fashanu, who's a damn good player. It's the same thing. They don't have a right tackle. They're probably going to take a right tackle at 7, and Warren's going to be really good at 14 to the Colts. It's the same story as last year.
I know. It's the same story for 55 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the difference?
Last question for you now. Draft Day, the movie. We're doing Heed the Call, a live watch where I'm gonna view it with an open mind. I watched years ago before the film came out when we were at NFL Media. We did a screener of it. We got a chance to see it. I was left mostly cold by it. Marc Sessler iconically wrote a review that was used in their promotional campaign where he said it was full apart from start to finish. Where do you come down on Draft Day, the film, starring Kevin Costner and capologist Jennifer Garner?
There's no such thing as a sure thing.
I'm definitely the worst person to ask this question, but I think there's an argument, like legitimately, to be made that it's the worst sports movie of all time. From how, like, it feels like they didn't hire a single quality control person on the set that has ever watched a football game or covered an NFL draft. It's so flawed beyond the processes of the entire thing that I actually laugh and enjoy it. Like it's so
bad it's good. We're in like the room with Tommy Wiseau category.
It is so bad that it's good that it's. I don't know if I'll watch it maybe one more time in my life. That's really good, Mark.
Well, I forgot about this one. Well, so Justin, who's a great producer, just pulled up the original tweet from April 8th, 2014. Marc Sessler, NFL, it's like a Dov Kleinman tweet. Draft day, quote, delivers on the great tension of the NFL draft.
Wow. Then get your ticks. By the way, Conor, just to let you know, this was a verbal interview that I had flown to visit my parents in the off season and had, you show up, you haven't seen your parents in 6 months, have a number of glasses of wine. And then I got a phone call from like a PR person and that came out of my mouth. And it's here it is haunting me a decade later. So
yeah, it feels like you were set up here. I'm not going to lie. I'm not actually I could see how this, I understand how this happened.
Also, man. Mark's a Browns fan, so the idea of the Browns hitting the home run. We'll save this for our rewatch, but I get why, Mark, maybe you would have been conflicted on different levels. Maybe Conor Rogers and Dan Hanzus would have had a similar issue if it was about the Jets nailing it in the end and sticking it up the ass of everyone else.
Well, the worst part of it all is just when you thought the haunting of Draft Day was behind us, is last year Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas flaunting their text message of Malachi Corley no matter what. And Corley ended up having just a dreadful rookie season. Like, his one memory was dropping the ball before crossing the goal line. And then, so now when you post that screenshot of them texting Malachi Corley no matter what, and they bragged after that they had him ranked ahead of Brian Thomas. And I was like, sometimes don't say things, just do them. You don't have to tell everyone. So
stay silent.
The ghost of Draft Day lives on through the New York Jets somehow. Really good stuff.
Delivers on the great tension of the NFL draft. All right, Conor Rogers, thank you so much for joining us, buddy, and we'd love to have you on again down the line.
Thank you, fellas. I appreciate it. Take it easy.
Thank you.
There he goes. I did forget about that, Mark. Everybody focuses on, of course, on Full of Heart from start to finish, but that delivers on the great tension of the NFL draft. You really gave them a lot. You gave them a lot.
That may be worse. You regret certain conversations under the influence, and that's got to be in the top 10 to 15. There's a lot to pick from.
Man, we have a lot of great draft content coming. Not only all the draft week episodes that we have, including the Marc Sessler mock draft with Lance Zierlein as quality control in the 6th floor of the Texas Book Depository. We also have the live first round stream that we'll be doing on Thursday night. We'll be live on YouTube, and you could watch the first, let's say, 10 or so picks with us as we welcome in guests and have a great time. And we're also talking about this, if we can make it happen. Mark, this might even be news to you. I don't know if I had this on the main chain, and Conman, we're thinking about this might be the place, the live stream in real time, where Justin Graver heads to a local playground and once and for all proves that he cannot dunk.
Oh,
I love that.
If it's logistically is the challenge, but we feel like if there's going to be the payoff to learn once and for all that Justin has been lying to us, doing it live and learning at the same time as our audience on a stream, that feels like the place to do it.
So I will say, Dan, when we do the live streams, you are great at seeing the comments that come in. If we had a guest join while I was driving to a gym, you can bring them in. You know the mechanics of our streaming platform pretty well.
Or I'll have Mark do it. That would just to make it a little more.
That's not
that would be
idea.
stressful. But like the mechanics of this would be I leave the stream. I guess I pull it up on my phone so I can keep up with everything that you're talking about. I drive to LA Fitness nearby, and then from my phone just stream.
What about Jessica? Can Jessica help us out as like be the camera woman?
Yeah, that would work too. That would work
too. As a cameraman, it's great to
have
Marc, but even better, a camera woman. Feminist,
a professional photographer, camera woman.
3P baby.
So yeah, maybe I'll just like stream from the gym, and it'll like my audio quality won't be fantastic. But
what if you get there and there's like a feverish 5-on-5 game going on the
all the better, right? You just walk on, yeah.
They'll see you, and like you'll just see the ball drop, and it gets quiet because everyone knows what's happening.
They would know.
It's time.
They'll be on one half of the court at a time, and I can squeeze my way in there.
So yes, Thursday, April 24th, live. Justin Graver will attempt to dunk during our first round live stream spectacular. I mean, the idea that you could find content in our realm, or really any realm of sports and entertainment that approaches what we're going to give you the week of the draft. Like literally, if you even think from the draft day rewatch on Thursday through draft night, what we're going to give you, if you even think there's someone else that can approach it, literally go yourself because you can't touch it.
Yeah, as long as we do it after the Titans pick Cam Ward, so I can like have that little celebratory moment. I don't mind missing picks 2 through 9 or whatever it takes.
I see it as like the tail end of the stream. Like we're getting now into the back end of the top 10, or maybe we do the top 10 and then you head out. How far away are you from the LA Fitness?
9-minute drive.
9-minute drive. I think we could hold that down. Basically, we'll have all our guests on, and then we say goodbye to our last guest, and then it's just Dan, Marc, and Conor, and we're talking draft while you're making your drive to the local gymnasium, and then the moment of truth.
Clear as
we'll
day.
even give you like 3-4 minutes to warm up.
That might be necessary and appreciated.
What do you think, Conor?
I have a quick scheduling question there. Am I eating the olives live if the Giants draft Shadur Sanders also?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I have to go buy some olives.
Yeah, you could expense it. We'll have Underdog take care of it.
Okay. This is going to be quite a program.
Wait, can we get Maury Povich on the live stream? He's probably available.
Those are like, for those of you who aren't watching it on YouTube, and you should, like the jar of olives that they're holding up in this Maury Povich clip are goddamn. They're so disgusting. They don't
it's
even
like
have
a Costco like a jar.
Yeah, it's like a Costco sized jar. Like I'm doing like a little,
No, we don't need you to eat 1,000 olives. Well, that woman couldn't even look at an olive, but she had mental illness and a chart like off the charts.
That feels like that's not her only issue.
Right.
Yeah, that was essentially the picture of 1999 in our country in terms of mental health and our awareness of it. Like we're now aware of your situation. We're not trying to trigger you. This is just you could look at olives, you just can't eat them, right?
Yeah, like I think the worst that could happen is maybe like a soft yak on the air, just like
which would be a win for the show.
Sure, yeah.
Even a light vomit
talking
would
olives
be a win.
with like the red thing in the middle, or like hollow olives?
So I don't know. There's been actually
pickled
a lot
ones. They got to be pickled and really like they've been sitting. They're highly concentrated.
Yeah.
The ones that are like stuffed with blue cheese, which is also disgusting. Like and then
my wife likes that. She drinks martinis with that,
and then they throw them in a martini.
Yeah,
so that's like a three-peat because other than olives, wet foods that shouldn't be wet is my one thing. Like I can't do the dishes, and it's like not a great thing in the house, and it's something that we obviously talk about.
What a move that is. And honey, I'd love to do the dishes, but I can't look at after she cooks a meal potentially that she took 2 hours to make. You can't load the dishwasher because there's food on the dish.
So there's times.
Whoa.
No. Parlay.
We're gonna have to redact this before it gets out to the public that Conor is this type of domestic terrorism.
I feel like I step up in a lot of other ways, and it does make the times where she'll come home sometimes that I'm washing the dishes when I'm kind of really in the shit, and I'll wear like a COVID mask. And I'm really grinding through it, like retching. And I do think that does up the ante in terms of appreciation for it. So,
what a warrior!
Yeah.
Is this attached to some sort of child
It's
child trauma.
It's just like if we have like
didn't we already do the Better Health
right?
read?
Help.
Help Conor specifically. If you have like spaghetti, or the worst is like a pretzel floating in like a liquid, and then it turns like pale, and then if you touch it, it breaks apart, and that really, like, I feel like ill right now physically.
Wow.
That's not. I can't.
I know you're speaking Marc's language. Marc hates food too.
No, I get where you're coming from a little bit.
All right. Okay. Good. Good ep. Thank you again to Conor Rogers. Conor was great. I love Conor.
Conor's awesome. He's like a brown-haired Sean McVay, isn't he?
I could see that.
Like,
but a better voice.
Super in shape. Like, got the hair. Like, he's just, everything sounds right. You know.
Easy, Conor.
Well, we've got a great Conor too.
Yeah, you're good too. You're a good Conor too.
Just saying.
Yes, Friday Fun Show this week over on the Patreon. Check that out. Brand new Rolling Thunder. Is that up now? Is that available now to the people?
It is in process.
All right. You'll have Rolling Thunder this week. Brand new Friday Fun Show. Patreon.com/Heed the Call. And yes, the Draft Day, the movie rewatch in just a couple of weeks. And, of course, all the Heed the Call content. 2 more shows coming to you next week. Until next time, do what you must. Heed the call.